For more on this, I'm joined now by former D.C. homicide detective and Fox News contributor Ted Williams. Ted, welcome.
Thanks, Mike.
So we expect the suspect to waive his extradition rights, and so when he gets back to Moscow, Idaho, presumably early this week, what kind of questions do you think homicide detectives will have for him when they get to speak with him?
Well, Mike, in light of the fact that he's lawyered up in Pennsylvania, and from what I've been told, that there are lawyers who went into court here in Moscow when there was a cleanup team back here cleaning this crime scene up. They went into court and they got an order enjoining or stopping the cleaning of this place. So that if that team of lawyers is representing him, Mike, homicide detectives will not be able to question him because he's closed in his constitutional rights. But I can tell you, Mike, this guy was a criminology major.
Yeah.
And if he is found to be the killer, it is believed from everything that I've seen that he thought that he had committed the perfect crime. And there is no such thing, Mike, as a perfect crime. You always take something from a crime scene or you leave something at the crime scene. And I think, as Dan Springer has reported, they have a great deal of DNA evidence to work with.
So the crime was committed November 13th. He was arrested early Friday, December 30th, some 2,500 miles away from the scene. Your reaction to that, I mean, did you worry that they might never find this guy?
Well, what I worried about is that this is a college town and that people are in transit and that he may very well not have been here. But what is significant about this investigation, not only the DNA, but that white car. Law enforcement has confiscated in Pennsylvania a white car. They are scrubbing that white car. And what they're going to do, I believe, is to show a nexus between that white car and this crime scene that's over my shoulder, Mike.
How do you think the cops in Moscow are feeling? Obviously, they were under intense pressure to come up with a suspect and to make an arrest.
I think law enforcement is feeling vindicated to some degree because there was the community wanting an arrest right away. And law enforcement knew that they were walking two tracks. One, that they needed to bring the perpetrator to justice. They believe that they have that perpetrator. Now on the other side is the prosecution. And that is what they are building a case to successfully prosecute the person that they have in custody, Kohberger.
Ted, put your attorney hat on, if you will. How concerned do you think the public defender is about this guy being convicted in the court of public opinion?
Well, they're deeply concerned about that, any lawyers who are going to represent him. And that's one reason why it's going to be very important for lawyers to be able to get into the crime scene that's over my shoulder here to try to prepare a defense for him. And as you know, the next day, the students who were on the first floor of this building over my shoulder are the ones who called other students to the crime scene before law enforcement. As a result of that, the defense attorneys are going to talk about, I think, a great deal of contamination of the crime scene. But the big question is, was Kohberger and has Kohberger been in this place, this crime scene that's over my shoulder before? That is certainly something that I'm hoping that we will learn vis-a-vis the affidavit that has been sealed in this case and will be unsealed once he's brought back here to Moscow, Idaho.
You know, as a dad, I've been trying to imagine the horror of these parents to go through this worst imaginable situation and then waiting for week after week after week for law enforcement to do their jobs and to find the person responsible. Final thought on the families and what you've witnessed over the past 7 weeks or so.
You know, Mike, you cannot walk in the shoes of parents who have lost their children under these circumstances. And I could, through the 4 weeks, that law enforcement has been trying to resolve and settle this case, and these parents have been crying out, and at times frustratingly crying out. And you have to understand that these are parents, just as you, Mike, who love their children, and their children are now gone, and they know that these children are never going to come back. But what they want is the person who killed them to be prosecuted successfully.
Ted Williams, former D.C. homicide detective. Great to have your analysis and your perspective today. Thank you, Ted.